we're going to dive into the pad perch. The pad perch is a great way to throw, sorry, the pad perch is a great frog to throw around really, really thick, heavy vegetation like pads. And I typically don't throw that until a little bit later in the summer. That's when I'm really targeting those pad fields. Early in the year, in the spring, a lot of times where we're fishing, we don't really have the thick vegetation, the thick pads that early. But as the summer progresses, it gets really hot. Those pad fields will end up generating a huge, huge area where it's shaded. It's cooler water temperature, and a lot of those big fish will pull into those pad fields and sit there all day just waiting for the right opportunity to feed. And so that pad perch allows you to really effectively cover water in those massive pad fields because, if you picture an entire pocket that's covered in lily pads, it's a lot of water to cover, and really it all looks the same. I mean, you might be able to target little individual holes or pockets, places where you could anticipate one sitting in ambushing, but reality of it is that it can take a long time to cover an entire pad field and figure out which section they're in, because there'll be something underneath those lily pads that are holding those fish on those specific spots. So that pad perch allows you to effectively fish that without getting hung up all the time because of the pointed nose on that pad perch. It allows it to just kind of slither through the pads, and I'll actually even like reel that frog. I'll throw it out and just reel it over the top of those pads, and it'll just slither right across the top of them. And I'll do that until I locate an area that I feel like is holding a concentration of fish. And from there, then I'll really break it down and start trying to walk it on top of the pads and draw a bite. But a lot of times whenever you're reeling that frog across, especially during practice, I'll go through a pad field and just reel that frog across the top of those pads. And they may not actually feed on it, but they'll show themselves. You just watch for that subtle little roll and the whole pad will kind of pick up, man. That'll get you pretty excited because there's a good one there. And a lot of times you can throw back and get that fish to bite even a day or two later. There's a reason those fish are resident fish a lot of times in that situation. You can come back a day or two later, make that same cast, slow it down a little bit, and generate that bite. And it's really kind of neat to think about that. But those fish are, especially a big fish, they get kind of territorial. They'll pick out a spot they like and they'll sit there until somebody catches them or until the conditions change and it's no longer favorable for them. But that's definitely a great way to cover water effectively with the pad perch and generate some giant bites late in the summer whenever it's really, really hot, the water's getting stagnant. Those fish really love keying in on those pad fields. So I'm gonna go over what I really like about really all of our Strike King frogs. For me, you can have a frog with the best action in the world, but if it doesn't have the right style of hollow body, it doesn't really matter because you're not gonna be able to effectively hook up with those fish. One thing that's really important about that is whenever that fish bites this frog, you're gonna see the way it easily, this is a very soft frog, so it's gonna easily mash down right here. And this gap right here is what's gonna give you your good hookup ratio. That's gonna generate a perfect opportunity to hook him right there in the top of the mouth where you want him, and you're going to have a very high landing percentage with this frog because of how soft it is. It doesn't take hardly any pressure at all to push that frog down, and it generates enough space there to allow it to hook up. So that's one thing that I really like about all three of our Strike King frog styles, whether it be the sexy frog here, the popping perch, or the pad perch. They're all really soft material. It's got a shape that'll still allow it to come through cover, but it's just soft on top, so it allows you to hook up whenever those fish squeeze down on it. So that's very, very, very important for me. Another thing, I'm gonna typically trim these skirts a little bit. That's gonna allow that frog to walk a little bit more. The popping perch has a little bit different material here. It's got more of a tail style, made out of a different material, and I trim that as well. Sometimes I'll leave it if I really want a big profile frog. I'll leave it this way, but I'd say that 90% of the time I'm gonna trim both the tail on this sexy frog and the popping perch and the pad perch just to make a little bit smaller profile, and it'll cast a lot better as well.